Welcome everybody, this is Little Swan here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a really simple medicine bag. This is something that I use when I'm going out to do ceremony, usually out in a really beautiful natural spot underneath a full moon or a new moon. And just to give a little bit of background about what a ceremony is, it's a little bit tricky to explain because it's more something that's very experiential and individual to you and very spiritual. But basically what ceremony is for me is a way of guiding oneself or another through a healing, transformative, and initiatory process using intuition and intention. It's a really great way of moving through any kind of past trauma, healing ancestral wounds, getting yourself out of a situation or a feeling of being stuck in your life, helping you align with your purpose and with your truth. Ideally, it's something that you would do to start with a shaman or a medicine woman or man. And it's basically just a way of communing with the spirit realm for your own healing or for another's healing is the best way that I can describe it. It's very much about me connecting with spirit and myself and connecting with Mother Earth. That's how I go through ceremony and how I relate to ceremonial work and healing and spiritual work. So, but as I said before, it's very, very experiential and very sacred. So yeah, that's more than I was gonna say about ceremony. I actually wrote a blog post on it on my blog, littleswan.ca, and I'll link that below so you can go a little bit more into what ceremony is to me, how I describe it, what my experience has been with it, as a background to what we're going to do today, which is creating a medicine bag. And this is something that I take out with me when I'm going to create a medicine wheel or perform ceremony. Or it's just something I carry around with me during my travels or when I'm at home. If I'm going off into nature, I make sure I always make offerings before I take something from nature. Like even if I'm just taking a picture or taking a rock that's really beautiful or taking some kind of natural medicine like rose hips or huckleberries. It's just part of my spiritual practice. So it's kind of like a crafty project, and then I'm going to be talking about the things that I use and take with me when I'm in ceremony. So the first thing is you're going to need a length of fabric. I'm going to use this red satin fabric. I really love the color red. It reminds me of the womb, the cosmic womb, which we're all part of. It reminds me of like a red tent, somewhere where women go to menstruate or bleed together. I think it's a really beautiful healing color. So I'm going to use this. I got this at a thrift shop for $4. So this is not an expensive project. You don't need to spend tons of money to do this. Even if you have like fabric laying around the house that you think is nice, or if you go to your local thrift shop and they don't have a fabric section, you can just pick out like a evening dress or something that has the color and the texture that you want. Velvet's really nice as well, and then you can just chop it up because it's like most of those go for like $3 or $4 or maybe $5. And then I have my string and my like a larger needle, and I've got some butcher's twine. You could use like a thicker string, like a nylon string, or leather would probably be really nice. This is just what I happen to have on hand, so I'm going to use it. I've got a pair of fabric scissors, but any kind of craft scissor will do. So we're gonna start with those 4 things. Cut this, so basically I'm gonna take this fabric and I'm gonna cut it in half maybe, and then I'm just gonna cut a circle. Sew around the circle, and then you literally just pull the strings in and it creates like a kind of pouch. So I'm just gonna lower the camera down and show you what I'm doing. Okay, great. So we've got a shape that more or less resembles a circle, and that will work just fine for me. As well, you might want to take the extra fabric that you just cut and maybe trim it a little bit and twist it, and you could actually just wrap it around the outside like this and pull it in and just do that. But I'm going to use the string just so it's a little bit more secure. So I have got my large needle that I got from Michael's as part of a set for $5, and then I've got my twine, and I'm just going to literally string this through the edge about an inch in all the way around until it's complete. Okay, that's all done. So how much do I have on this side? About that much. So I'll just cut the string about here and cut that off. And now you can see, just gonna pull these two strings together like so and pull out the pouch a little bit. Great. Now we've got our little medicine pouch. Okay, so now that we've created our medicine bag and it's all finished, I'm going to show you what I actually have in my medicine kit and use for pretty much every ceremony, and just a couple extra little things that you might want to include as well. So first and foremost, whether I am moving into a new home, often when I'm meditating, and always before I am creating a medicine wheel or even a smaller kind of ceremony or offering, I always smudge first. And this is for two reasons. One, it is to clear the space of any kind of negative energies that might interfere with your sacred work. And two, to call in my spirit guides, my ancestors, any kind of being or energy that I want to work with in ceremony. And also just to call in the good spirits to help you hold the container and create a safe space throughout the ceremony. When you're creating a ceremony or any kind of circle, it's like opening up a portal. So if you're not very clear on what you are calling in, a lot of things can come through that you might not want there, like entities or like weird kind of energy, especially if your third eye and your crown chakra are really open like mine and you're really psychic or maybe a medium. You might have noticed before that a lot of like weird things can come in, or you might start hearing weird noises or see strange things like when you're going to sleep later. So you want to make sure that you're very clear about why you're opening a circle or a ceremony and who's allowed to come in and who's not. So smudging is a great way to do this. My teacher has always used sage with me, and so that's the medicine that's come down through my lineage. However, there has been some controversy around certain burnables, white sage and Palo Santo in particular. This is a smudge stick that I found recently. I think it's been in one of my boxes for like 5 or 6 years, and it looks like it's white sage. So the reason why there's been controversy around white sage in particular is because this type of sage is indigenous to the southwestern sort of four corners of the United States. From what I understand from the articles I've read, it's being over-harvested in order to fill the new demands for white sage and smudging sticks. And so one story I read was that a elder, I believe in North or South Dakota, the Lakota people, the elder was taking the children out into the plains to teach them about their indigenous medicine. And when they got to the place where the white sage usually grows, it had all been picked. And so the elder was not able to offer the teaching and the wisdom of the medicine because it simply was not there. And the increasing demand for white sage in particular and other burnables has created this deficit for indigenous peoples, whereas they can't go onto their traditional lands and actually pick the medicine that they've been using for, 10,000 plus years. So there's that. With Palo Santo, apparently there's two types of trees that they harvest Palo Santo from, and both are they're like clear cutting it like crazy, and it's creating an environmental issue. So there's that for Palo Santo as well. And I think it's also about the intention that you're using the medicine with and having an understanding of the peoples and cultures that it's coming from, what it's used for, how it's used. For me, sage is medicine, and it's not for creating a sense of ambiance in my home. It's specifically for healing and ceremonial purposes. So from now on, I'm not purchasing any more Palo Santo because I have no idea how to source it ethically. And the same thing for the Palo Santo. People from Central and South America who traditionally use that medicine think it's weird that it's being pushed out for profit. And the same could be said for sage, tobacco, and cacao. I think the issue too is that practitioners or people who claim to be shamans are using this purely for monetary reasons and for profit. So it's being capitalized and taking away from its true nature, which is that it's medicine and that it's meant to be gifted to people and it comes from nature. So that's just something to be aware of. From now on, I'll just use green sage, which is actually native to the Mediterranean regions and has been used for thousands of years by Celtic or Celtic peoples, the Greek, the Egyptians. So I think that's safe to use if you're non-Indigenous, and just be aware of why you're using it, I think is a good point to make as well. So I just wanted to input that. I'm still going to use this because I think it would be a waste to throw it out and waste the medicine. So, but from now on, I think for me personally, it feels more in alignment just to use green sage that comes from my ancestral Europe. So we've got that. Also, there's so many other things that you can create smoke with to clear the space and call in the good spirits. There's so many kinds of resins and herbs. I love roses. I have these charcoal discs that you can use. I just keep it in a bag because it's quite messy. But basically you take one of these, and if you are outside, you can put it on a rock. If you're inside, just make sure you get some type of clay bowl, put salt on it, and then you light one of these up. And then you can put any kind of burnable resins or flowers or herbs. I've got frankincense and myrrh. You can use incense as well, whatever feels right and is in integrity for you. So yeah, always have that one on for like several minutes, but I just wanted to make sure I was being socially and culturally responsible as well in this video. So you've got your burnables, very important. And then I have matches. Probably better to have a lighter, especially if you're outside, because the wind can really kick up and it can make it really difficult to light up your sage or whatever you're burning. I have a power shell that I got in New Zealand. You can also use oyster shells are really great. If you live on the west coast of Canada like I do, we have oyster shells in abundance. Those are really great to hold your burnable, your sage or whatever, like your charcoal disc. Just make sure you bring salt with you as well if you're going to use one of these. A few other things that are really important to have are offerings. This is something that I use when I'm creating a medicine wheel. It's a way of giving before you ask for and receive any kind of healing or wisdom and guidance from your guides or ancestors or any god, goddess, deities you're working with, and just from the earth as well. So it's good to have like flowers, chocolate are really good. So here I have some chocolates and candies. Obviously, unwrap them first. You don't want to be putting plastic into the ground because that is not good medicine for the earth. But just little things like that that are really beautiful to offer in ceremony. Or fruit. A really good idea when you're making offerings is to bring something that's exotic and not commonly seen to the place where you're creating a ceremony. So if you're on a beach, it's great to bring like apples, any kind of fruit, bring a bouquet of flowers, and you can make your wheel or your mandala out of that. You are at a volcano. This one time when I was in New Zealand, I was visiting and doing a walk along the Tongariro crossing. That's where they filmed Mount Doom in Lord of the Rings, and it's this like epic hike and volcano. And of course, there's hundreds of people doing it every day, taking photos, you know, treading along it, and no one's making offerings. So I was just starting my hike. I went off to the side and I dug a hole in the ground and I placed 2 pots of Tahitian vanilla that I actually bought in Tahiti. One for grandmother and one for the grandfather, or divine masculine and divine feminine aspects into the earth, and made that offering. And it was really interesting because afterwards I felt a kind of like a volcano goddess walking with me for the first like hour and a bit of my hiking. So it makes a difference. When you're making your offerings, you're feeding the earth and you're feeding the spirit realm, and you're courting the spirits and creating a really honoring and beautiful connection with the spirit realm, which helps you in your medicine and your healing work for you and for others. So I think it's absolutely essential that you make offerings. In your medicine bag, you might wish to have crystals or gemstones or any kind of rocks with you as well. These are a couple that I have and I don't remember the name of. I think this one's kind of like a Lumerian, like dolphin kind of stone. I believe my brother's fiance gave it to me. And this I don't remember the name of. I got it in India, but it's really great for balancing the chakras. And then my birthstone, I think. Genuine moonstone. I love this. It so connects you to that grandmother moon, feminine energy. So that one's a really lovely one that I have. And then if you have any kind of sacred objects like a staff or some kind of crystal or wooden wand, an eagle feather or some other kind of large feather, you might want to put that in there as well. This is a rock flint that I used in my very first medicine wheel when I was 23, so 6 or 7 years ago, with my teacher Bear. And he had this really beautifully folded medicine kit with like 2 staffs from Ireland and these beautiful eagle and albatross feathers and all these amazing things. And he told me that I could pick one item from his medicine kit to anchor me during our medicine wheel together. And this was it. So this would have been used by a woman like, I don't know, a couple thousand years ago to process a deer after they hunted. So the women had to be really, really strong to use one of these to cut the hide off and cut the muscle and the sinew. And they used all the parts of the deer for food, for making clothing, building. So this is really special to me. And then after our ceremony, he let me keep it. So this is a very special totem and sacred object to me. So I have that. I have root rock beads, which I never use, but if you like to meditate, you can take these as well. And then you might want to have some actual medicine in your medicine bag. A lot of the places I've gone out to perform ceremony are like pretty wild, like out in sand dunes. Where else? Beaches are pretty tame, but you just never know when you might need something. And you might just want to incorporate natural medicines into your medicine kit. I think that makes sense, and it all kind of brings it all together. So I've got some essential oils that I take out. Peppermint is great if you're feeling nauseous. I've got tea tree oil. That's an antiseptic and antibacterial. Great for so many things. I've got lavender. This is great as well. Antiseptic, great for sunburns or any kind of skin abrasions. This is really good for clearing out cuts, that kind of thing. So if you want to incorporate like physical medicine into your medicine bag, I think that's amazing as well. And then last but not least, if we had any guys watching this video, they're probably gonna turn it off now. Menstrual blood. This is an old jar that had honey in it. I have been collecting and offering my menstrual or moontime blood for years. It's part of my spiritual practice. It is so powerful for women when they are on their moontime or menses to go out into nature and to actually offer their blood back to the earth. It is such potent and powerful medicine, and nobody talks about, well, some people talk about it. It's not mainstream. There's been so much shaming and suppression of our yoni or womb blood for centuries, and that's because it's powerful. Our ability to harness our blood and the creative energy and offlow from our womb, it's incredibly powerful in creating and manifestation work. So typically what I do, if I haven't had a chance to actually go out and sit in nature and bleed directly back into the earth, which is a practice that I learned from the Aboriginal Australian women, they would go off without the men and they would actually sit and they would bleed and offer their blood back to the Mother Earth as a way of saying thanks and making an offering. And I actually, the past few years, have collected my blood. I use a diva cup and then I just put it in a jar when I'm done. And I will write down the things that I wish to release or I wish to manifest, and I will bring fruit and chocolate and flowers, and I'll actually dig a hole in the ground and place the papers in the ground that I've written on, or I'll burn them into an ash, and then I will bury it and I will pour my blood on top of it, and I will place my offerings on top of that as well, just to close off the ceremony. But it is like, awesome. It's like liquid gold. Like, our wombs are literally the most creative centers in the entire world. Like, there's nothing more creative than bringing a human through, like, a soul into the world. It's so amazing that it's not talked about, but this practice is so ancient. Even here in North America and South America, women used to gather in moon lodges and just bleed together for days. And it's because, I mean, one, it's a great release. You're releasing all these old emotions, physical toxins, any negativity, and it's like a monthly purification, and to offer it back to the earth just totally amplifies our ability to heal ourselves and to empower ourselves and to connect with the Mother Earth and the Great Mother and Creator. So menstrual blood, womb blood, it's amazing. I always have it in my medicine kit. Plus, using diva cups is so much better for your body and so much better for the earth. You can reuse them for years. There's no waste, and that way you can also collect your menstrual blood to use healing applications on your body or for someone else, or to offer in ceremony back to the earth. So that's really important, and that's something that I have. Other things that you might like to have are other objects that have meaning to you. I often have some kind of seashells or rocks that I collect in my medicine bag. You might want to have a Swiss Army knife. You never know when that's going to come in handy. Anything that feels sacred and good to you, you can put in your medicine bag. You have things that are part of your medicine kit that aren't going to fit in a little baggie pouch like this. You can also take a length of fabric like this, and you can just fold it up and then very gently just look at that for a sec. You can wrap everything together like this and just have it in a little folded piece of sacred fabric as well. But I think I pretty much covered everything. It's really, you can use your intuition and your creativity and do whatever feels good and empowering to you when you're going out into ceremony and when you're creating your medicine kit. Again, if you want to learn a little bit more about what ceremony is, I've written a blog post on it. I will link that below. Thank you everyone so much for joining me. I really hoped what I offered has some benefit to you, that you learned something or found something interesting and inspiring. And I will see you all very soon. Have a beautiful day. Take care. Bright blessings.